Hi and welcome to this DCP web tutorial. In today's tutorial we're going to focus on a system for small businesses which are VAT registered. So we're going to make a bookkeeping tutorial which is for small businesses which are VAT registered. So if you've been following my tutorials on my YouTube page, you'll see that I created previously a small business bookkeeping tutorial, and these were for businesses which are not VAT registered. So if you're not a VAT registered business, then you can go ahead and follow these tutorials. People seem to find them quite useful, and it's a good system, especially for a small startup business. It's pretty much a free way to keep track of all your bookkeeping. There's no expensive software involved, everything's free tools to use. So you can go ahead and follow these free tutorials here. But we're going to focus today on small businesses which are VAT registered. So I'm going to go to Google and we need to download OpenOffice. Just type in OpenOffice and go to openoffice.org, click on the link and then say I want to download Apache OpenOffice, and then choose the relevant operating system, the right one that's for you. I'm using Windows, and I'll click this download install and it will tick down to 5 seconds. And then you see this pop up here. Save the file as you save any other application file. It's 134 megs, so it'll take a bit of time to download, but once you've downloaded it, you should be good to go. So just install it as you'd install any other software. So I'm going to close that. And if you are a small business and not VAT registered, you can just go to youtube.com. You should be able to just type in small business. Just type in small business bookkeeping. You'll see my tutorial right here as well. That's an easy way to find my small business bookkeeping tutorial if you're not VAT registered. So let's focus on the VAT registration bookkeeping tutorial. So I'm going to close this, and we'll assume that you've downloaded and installed OpenOffice. So here you can see all my software, and I'm going to click on OpenOffice here. We're going to load up a blank spreadsheet and we're going to go to File, Save As, and I've already created a folder on my computer called Small Business VAT Bookkeeping. I've created this file called Invoice Tracker and I've given it today's date. So just type in Invoice Tracker and make sure you give it today's date. The date, there's a purpose for this date, because every so often we're going to make an archive of this folder, of this particular file, so we'll keep a backup of that file as we go along. I'm just going to save this, overwrite the file. So we've got a blank spreadsheet here, and the objective of this first spreadsheet, let's just try and understand what this spreadsheet is supposed to do. So in your business, every day or every few days you're going to be sending out invoices to customers for work that you've done for them, and you want to be able to create a spreadsheet where you can keep track of who's paid you, when they've paid you, how they've paid you, what the work was for, various information you want to keep track of in this particular spreadsheet. And it's important to have that information because you want to be able to chase customers that haven't paid you. You want to be able to see who's paid you, how much you've generated in a month, how much you've generated in 6 months, the end of the year. All this information is quite important to your business, and you know there's a nice system that I've created in this OpenOffice spreadsheet which will help you to do this. So in this first column, in this letter here, this is cell A1. You can see A1 written here. So this will be cell A1, this will be B1, C1, this will be C5, cell C5. So we're going to click on cell A1, and in this cell we're going to type in Invoice Date. And then if we press the tab key, that will move us to the next cell. Let's just save this. So now we're in B1, and we're going to type in Invoice Number. And then we want, if you notice, like this invoice number is overlapping this letter C here, this column C. So just move in between cell B and C and double click here. You can double click and it will set the size of the cell for you automatically, so you can see what's in there. And then in this cell we want payment type. We just double click here. We'll set the width. We want reference. I'm going to explain all these columns what they're for. And then we want description, and we also want company name, we want the price excluding VAT, we want the price, we want the VAT on its own, and then we want the including VAT price. And in the last column we want paid. So we've missed one thing here. Let's just save this. So we've got invoice date, invoice number, payment type. So we're going to click on this C cell, payment type, and we're going to right click here and we're going to insert a column. It's going to insert a blank column here because we want date paid here, which is very important. Okay, so we're going to click on this letter A. That's going to highlight this whole column, and we're going to hold down the control key on our keyboard and also click on date paid. These two, so we'll highlight these two because they're both dates. And we're going to right click on them and format cell. And we're going to say we want it to be a date format. And I'm using UK date format, but you may want to select a different date format from here. In theory, OpenOffice should be able to see what your language settings are and your location and set the format for you automatically. But I'm just going to use this default date format here, UK date format. Pick a different date format if you're in American format or European, using date format. Days, months and years. You can see the days, the months and the years here. I'm going to click OK. Nothing's really happened, but it all makes sense in a moment. And then in here, the ex-VAT, VAT and including VAT, we need to highlight these three columns. So left click on the G, hold the mouse down and drag across to highlight these three. We're going to right click, format cell. I'm going to set this to currency format, and again select the relevant settings for your currency, but I'm using UK British pounds. I'm going to click that, and you must make sure it's to the decimal place, so you've got the pennies in there as well. That's important. Click OK. Let's just save this. So we need to start filling in some data. So let's just assume today's the 26th of the 5th, 2015, the same date as what this is written up here in the invoice tracker. And this is our let's just say this is our very first day of business, and we've done some work for our customer and we need to put some information in here. So we need an invoice date. We need to say when did we send this invoice to the customer. What you have to understand is this spreadsheet is not the invoice itself. We're gonna, in our second tutorial, we're going to make a separate document which will actually be the invoice that you send to the customer. This is just a tracker. This is to track all the invoices that go out. This is not the invoice itself. That will be a separate tutorial I'll do afterwards. So really this is tracking all the money coming into your business. The second tutorial will be an actual invoice that you will send to the customer as a PDF file, or you'll print it out and send it in the post. The third tutorial we'll create is all of your expenditure, all the money that you're spending in your business. So you need to keep track of that as well. So in here we need to invoice date. So we're going to put today's date, 26th of the 5th, 2015. I'm going to click out. And one thing we want to do here is click on this little box in the left hand corner. This little box. And we're going to left align everything. For now. Everything left aligned. And we need an invoice number. So this invoice number is always a unique number. But if you're running, at some point in your business, you may be running more than one company. So I normally use an acronym. So what I do is I put in DCP. That's an abbreviation of my company name, and then I'll put in the year 2015, so I know what year this invoice was sent out, and then I put in the number 001. So this will be DCP company, my company, the year 2015, today, this year, and this is the very first invoice. And it will go up to 999, and then you loop back to 001 again. Then we need to put in a date here. So this is the date it's paid. We're going to assume it hasn't been paid yet. The payment type hasn't been sorted out yet. So these things here, these three, we're going to leave blank for the moment. I'm going to explain those in a moment. But a description. What job did we do for this customer? So we did a logo design. Just a simple logo design. That's all we did. One other thing we can do is we can click on this number 1 right here, and it will highlight this whole row, and we're going to make it bold. And that will just make all of these headings bold here, just so that we can see them a bit clearer. Just going to reduce the size of these for a moment. Okay. I've zoomed in here a bit, so normally the spreadsheet will look more like this. I'm just zooming in so it's a bit easier for you to see. You can zoom in and out by holding down the control key and using your mouse wheel. So moving up and down on your mouse wheel will zoom in and out. It's a company, so I'm just going to make this up. I'm going to call it XYZ company. This is the name of the company that we did this work for. And now we need to do our calculations here. So whenever I quote a customer for a job, I always quote them excluding VAT. So I'll say the job cost £100 excluding VAT. And we're going to calculate the VAT here in a moment. And we need to calculate the including VAT price here. So what we'll do is we're going to say, let's just make sure we do this right. So it'll be H1 times 1.2. So we do it'll be H2. This cell equals H2 times 1.2. And then this I cell we do equals J2 minus H2. Enter. So whatever figure we put in here is going to calculate the VAT and the excluding VAT price. So if I put in £25 here, 25 plus £5 is the VAT equals £30 total including VAT. So this formula will calculate the VAT. So whenever I quote a customer price, I always say it's £25 plus VAT. I'll put the 25 in here, it works out the VAT and including VAT. In the UK we're charging 20% VAT, this is why it's times 1.2. So if you're charging 40% VAT, you'll be 1.4 and hit enter, and then you'll get 40% VAT in there. But we're going to make it 1.2 because we're in the UK. So you can modify the formula depending on what VAT you want to charge. We're charging 20% here. So let's just look at that one more time. The excluding VAT, you just put in the price here. The including VAT will be the H2. So this is cell H2 25. This £25 is cell H2. You can see that here, H2. So H2 times 1.2 will give us the VAT. So let's just try one more figure in here. Let's try something a bit more random, like 145. So 145 plus VAT is £174. So let's go and double check this formula. We'll go to our browser and we'll do VAT. Spelled that wrong, VAT calculator. So there's some online tools that you can use to check your VAT. So we did 145. 145, the VAT is 29, the gross is 174. 145, 29, 174. So let's just start again and we'll do something a bit more. 1,234. Add the VAT at 20%. And we'll just check these figures, just make sure our formula is working correctly. So we'll put 1,234. You can see this hashing is happening here. You need to make the column wider. You need to make it wider. When the column is too narrow, it puts these hashes in here. If you see the hashes, you need to make the column wider so you can see the values inside. So 246.80, 1,480, spot 80. There you can see. So the formula is working correctly. I'm just checking it on this website to make sure the formula is working correctly, but it's fine. Okay. So let's just make this a sensible figure. Let's say it was 125. Okay, let's just save this document. So obviously this is only one invoice that we've sent out. We're going to assume we're going to move into the future and we're going to say we sent out, let's do 20 invoices for now. So, you know, realistically you're going to be sending your invoices on different dates. You may send one today, you may not send one for another 3 or 4 days, even another week until you finish that next job. But to make my life a little bit easier, I'm just going to move my mouse cursor over this bottom right hand corner. I'm going to drag down, and that's going to generate the dates for me. So you can see the 26, 27, 28, 29. So I'm using one day, and normally it wouldn't be like this. Normally in your spreadsheet you would have different dates in here. You may have the same date. You may do 3 jobs on the same day, and you may have the 26, 26 and 26 for 3 different companies here, the same date, and you sent out 3 different invoices to 3 different companies. But in this case I'm just showing the dates here quickly because I don't want to type them all in. Now the invoice number, you can do the same thing here. So the software recognizes that it ends with a 01. So in theory, if we drag all the way down, you're going to see 02, 03, 04, 05, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 20, 020 here. So that's a quick way of generating your invoice numbers. I didn't have to type it in. I typed in the first one. I made sure it ended with a 001, and I could generate all my invoice numbers very, very quickly. You're going to see this becomes very useful when we create our actual invoice in the next tutorial, because we can just cut and paste this information in very quickly. So the date, these 3 I'm going to leave them blank. We're going to come back to those in a moment, and we need to generate some more information in here in these 4 columns. So I'm going to type some stuff in. I'm going to say website design, and this is for ABC company, a different company, and we charge 1,000. And you'll see that these values haven't been generated here. The quick way to do this is to click on this cell above and then just drag it down. There's a little black box in the corners, maybe a little bit hard to see. I'm going to try and zoom in as much as possible. This little black box here in the corner, you click on it and you drag down one, and you see it's showing some error here, but you need to click and drag down on this one as well, and it's going to generate the values for you. Let's just zoom back out a bit. So in theory you can drag these all the way down, but it's going to show all zeros, and it's going to show all 0 values in here because there's no value in the here. So normally I only drag down once I've generated that particular line of information. So once I've done a row of data, then I just drag these 2 down, so I don't see all zeros in here. So it just looks a bit messy. Let's just save this. Business card design, and 1, 2, 3. So I'm just making up some company names here, and we charged £95 to do this work, and we just click here and drag down and drag down, and we'll get our values in here. You can see that we can't really see all the information in this column. We don't really want this column to be too wide because we're going to see a lot of our information missing off the screen. So normally I keep this quite narrow, about here. And if I can't see all the information in the cell, I click on the cell, click on this cell, and it'll tell me right here what is in there. So business card design, website design, I can read it up here. So don't worry if you can't see all the information here. You can click on the cells to see exactly what's written in there. It's more important that you can see all the rows of data without having to scroll left and right. That's more important. Let's just save this. So we say we did some work. It was search engine optimization work, and it's month 1 for this particular company, and we'll call it Red. That's the name of the Red Carpets Limited. That's what the company's called, and we're charging them, I don't know, let's just say 295. You can also move up to this cell, press Ctrl C to copy, and press Ctrl V to paste, and you can move to this cell, Ctrl C and Ctrl V to paste. So you can copy and paste these down as well, and it will change the value. Can you see in here it says H4, and if I move up one it will say H3 and then H2. You can use the arrow keys to move around the spreadsheet. So that's another way to generate these quite quickly, is just to copy and paste them down. I'll show you some more quicker ways in a moment. Let's just save this. So we've got 4 invoices in here at the moment, and I'm going to do a few more, then I'm just going to replicate them. So let's just say we did some banner design, some animated banners for a customer. It really should be a bit more descriptive in here because banner design is a bit generic. So we could say banner design GIF animation times 12. So we did a banner design job. It was GIF animation banners, and we did 12 in total. So that's a bit more descriptive. And it was for the 123 company, so it's the same company here. And let's say we charged them £10 a banner. There's 12 in total, so it's 120. And this time I'm going to select these two cells with my mouse, copy them both. So I'm going to select them both, press Ctrl C to copy, edit, copy, Ctrl C, it's very easy, Ctrl C, and then I'm going to press Ctrl V to paste. So I'm going to move down to here and press Ctrl V, and it's going to generate the values for me as well. So that's another way to get those formulas pasted. You can just select the ones above, copy them and paste them below, or you can drag down. You can click here and drag down if you want. That's another way to do it. There's a few different ways. I'm going to save this. So to save me a bit of time, because I don't want to keep typing them in here, we're going to be here for a very long time, I'm going to copy these ones and paste them below. So it's for the same similar companies, we can see. And the values I'm going to make a bit more random. So I'm going to type in 145. These are just random figures I'm going to put in here. I'm just making them up. I just put some random numbers in. I wanted to make sure they're not all exactly the same. These descriptions and these company names would have probably been different. You wouldn't invoice your customers in this particular sequence. These would be a bit more random and the jobs wouldn't be exactly the same. But I've done that for a reason, just to make this process a bit quicker. But the values in here, I put them a bit random. I want to make them different. There's a reason for that. So what we can do now is select both these cells with our mouse. So we'll highlight both of them. We're going to press Ctrl C to copy, and we're going to highlight all of these here, and we're going to press Ctrl V to paste, and it's going to generate all the values for us. The price excluding VAT, we typed it in, the including VAT, and the VAT amount, and the including VAT is done for us. So that's how this particular formula is going to work. And you can see we've got some missing information in here. So let's fill out some more of this information. So let's just make an assumption. Today is today's date, and we're looking into the future really here. And we sent this invoice today, and let's just assume 14 days later the customer pays us. So this particular customer has sent us, we logged onto our internet banking, and we can see that the customer's paid us. And when we look at our internet banking or our bank statement, the customer always puts a payment reference here in your bank statement, and that's what the customer sends when they send a payment. They're going to make a reference, some sort of reference, and they're going to say something like, it could be anything, but they'll probably put something like logo design, and they may put your invoice number like DCP 2015-001, just so that you can recognize it. So you know it's come from that company because it will be marked on your bank statement from XYZ company. They may even put that in the reference as well, but normally references are it's a short amount of space that what you can type in there. So when I looked at my bank statement in this example, I went online, I logged in, I saw logo design, I saw this one payment, logo design DCP 2015-001. So that's the invoice number there. And also on that bank statement it would have said XYZ company. So easily I can tally this up now. I know that this payment of £150 that I can see in my account belongs to this particular invoice that I sent out to the customer. So in here, let's work out 14 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So around the 9th of the 6th they would have paid me 14 days later. So in here on my bank statement it says on the 9th of the 6th 2015. That's the date that the customer paid me. This is when I sent them the invoice, and that's the date that they paid me. And how did they pay me? They paid me via bank transfer. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. So this one row you can say is now being completed, kind of completed. There's still a few bits of missing information. So in this column we've got paid, and I'm going to type in yes here. But we're going to assume all these other ones haven't been paid. So when I generated these rows of data, really I would have put no in all of these columns. None of these have been paid, only this first one right now. And what I do is I highlight row number 2. So I'm going to highlight row 2, click on number 2 here, and then from these colors I'm going to choose green. And green tells me it's been paid. So really all these other ones would have been a different color. I'm going to make them all blue. So when I look at this spreadsheet, let's just say that we're closed for business today, and tomorrow I open up this spreadsheet. This spreadsheet will tell me this first one has been paid because I can see the data in here, but it's also green. So I can almost ignore this one. I know it's been paid. I can forget about it for now. But all these other ones haven't been paid. So we're going to look at these other ones in a moment. So let's assume we log in tomorrow and we look at our bank statement, or we log into our business account, and we can see that 4 of these other invoices have been paid. 1, 2, 3. Let's say these next 4 have been paid. And they all have different reference types. So let's just make them a bit different. So this will be ABC DCP 2015-002. So they, in this case, they've put their company name ABC, and they've put their invoice number, and the amount was 1,200. So what I will do here is I'll mark this as yes, it's been paid. So I'm going to mark it as yes, and it was paid via bank transfer as well. And if you notice, as I'm typing, because the cell above already has bank transfer written in there, it's going to recognize that below, and I can just hit the enter key. And this got paid on the 10th, got paid on the next day. So now we've got 2 invoices shown as paid. And let's mark this one as green. So that's 2 invoices paid. On this next one, this invoice got paid. But in this case, the customer sent us a check. So I'm going to write in here check payment. And normally when someone sends you a check, you have to put that into your bank account. It takes a bit of time for that check to clear. It doesn't clear straight away. It takes a few days, maybe 7 days to clear the check payment. But the reference won't be from the customer. The reference will be from your check paying in slip. So when you have 2 types of books. You have your check book and your check paying in slip book. So in that paying in slip, you'll have a reference number, and it will be something like 000-01-01, something like this. It may not necessarily be that. It will be different in every different type of banking system, but each one will be a unique number. So you'll have 01, and you'll have 02, 03. Each check slip will have a unique number. So we'll put that reference number in here. This is your check reference paying in slip number, and we put that into our bank account. And then let's just say 7 days from this date, so 28th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On the 4th of the 6th, you logged into your bank account and you looked at it, and you'll see that the payment is cleared. So on the 4th of the 6th, you logged in, and you can see that this check payment is now hit your account, and you can see the money in your account. So we're going to mark this as yes as well, and we're going to make it green. So now we can see 3 payments have gone through, and let's just assume that you logged in a few days later and all these payments have started to come through. So we start to mark some of these down. We're going to leave a few of them unpaid at the bottom, but let's get most of them marked in. So this one here on the 29th got paid on the 5th of the 6th. It was a bank transfer, and it was from Red Carpets. So let's call it, the reference was Red Carpets Limited, and it had your 004. That's what they put in as the reference. They put the end of the invoice number, not the full invoice number. Remember, these can be quite random what they type in here, but they're just trying to identify what the payment was for. They might even put invoice 004, so it's a bit clearer for you. Let's mark this as yes. And and this was sent on the 30th, so let's just say they paid it bank transfer, and they paid it, this was 123 company. So 123 company, and it was 2015-005. That's what they put in for the reference. This end part is identifying your invoice number. This is relating to this part here. That's what they put as the reference. Let's mark this one as green. And normally I try and choose colours down here at the bottom so they're easy to find. So this green and this blue, these two I use. I don't try and pick colours from here because they're quite hard to find. So just these two at the bottom are very easy to find, these two here. So this one here, on the 31st of the 5th, 2015, this customer came and paid you, and they paid you on the following day. They paid you on the 1st of the 6th, 2015. And they happened to pay you using cash. They came and gave you cash in your hand. So here, you can just put in cash payment. And you took that money on the same day, and you paid it into your bank account. So on your bank statement, you'll see that on the 1st of the 6th, 2015, they paid you cash, and it was in your bank account, straight into your account. I'll put cash payment here, but you may put a different reference. You might put something like XYZ cash payment, so you know that it came from there. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, and we're going to say that all of these were done via bank transfer, and we're going to set the date here to the 5th of the 6th, 2015. This is the 1st of the 6th, so this invoice was sent on the 1st of the 6th, so it can never be a date before this. The date paid always has to be a date in the future. We're just going to drag down and generate the dates that have been paid, and then the reference numbers. All I'm going to do is copy these and paste them here. These are what the companies that send the payment, these are the references that they used, just to speed things up a little bit here. Hopefully this all makes sense. And we can mark all of these as yes. So as your business goes along, you're going to keep adding all of your dates in here. You're going to generate all your invoice numbers, and you're going to end up with a whole year's worth of data. We happen to have pretty much 20 days worth of data in here. And we're going to use this tool to do some other things now. So most important, you know when you sent the invoice, what the invoice number was, your unique invoice number, the date the customer paid you, how they paid you, what sort of work you did, well, the reference, their company reference. So later when you look at your bank statement, if you had many payments from XYZ company, each one of these references will normally be unique. Not always, but sometimes they're unique. So you can look back at your bank statement and quickly find that bank statement and see when they've paid you if you need to reference it for any reason. What the job was done, the company that you sent the invoice to, the price excluding VAT, how much VAT, and the including VAT. And this is going to be important information when we create the actual invoice template in our second tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll make a real invoice that you can send to the customer. So we can do we've got some tools in OpenOffice that will help us do a few things here. So we can click on this number 1 here, and we can go to Data, Filter, Auto Filter. And we can say, we can go to this paid column and we can click yes here. Click on this yes. And then it will only show us invoices that have been paid. And we can say, well, we can click on this bottom cell here, and we can use the sum tool here. We can click on that, and we can click the green arrow, and we can do the same with the VAT here, the sum tool, and click the green arrow, and this one here, sum tool, and then click the green arrow. And it will give us the grand totals. So it will say, during this period, you have been paid exactly this amount in your bank account. This is how much VAT was, and this is how much it was excluding VAT. So we can delete these three. I'm just showing you the sum tool here. And we can go to no. And this is a quick way for you to reference who hasn't paid you. So in this paid column, this is why we've got a yes and no in here. The no will tell us how many people haven't paid us. And we can see when we sent out the invoices, and if it's been more than 14 days or 30 days, depending on your payment terms, you can quickly check to see who hasn't paid you, and you can chase them up on these payments quite quickly. This is a good way to see who hasn't paid you and who has paid you. And we can click on all, and when we click on all, or just before I do that, you'll notice these drop down menus are black. You'll see they're black, but the ones that we're using are in blue. You can see right here they're blue. So blue tells us that it's currently active. So when we click on here and click all, you see it's gone back to black because it's not being used at the moment. And we may want to see a grand total, so we click on this cell here, use the sum tool, click the green arrow here, and we can see how much we generated during that period as a grand total. And you can do the same on these columns as well here. You can click on here, sum tool. You can hit the enter key as well, it's a bit quicker. Click here, click on the sum tool and hit enter. This is the sum tool. You can see it's hashed here because we need to make the column a bit wider to see the value. That's a quick way to get all the information, you know, about your grand totals. So you can quite easily see how much you've generated in total, how much is outstanding, and how much you actually have been paid in your account. Those three figures are quite important. We can also go to the name column here and we can select 123 company, and we can see how much we've billed to 123 company. So we click here and do a sum tool, and we can say for 123 company we billed them £2,532, and from that amount we can click yes and do a sum tool, and we can say 1,806 has been paid from that particular company, and we click no, and we can do another sum tool, and we can say 726 is currently outstanding. I'm always deleting this formula afterwards once I've used it, this sum tool. Click all, and we can go back here, we can choose a different company, ABC, and we can do the same, and XYZ we can see the same. We'll click all here, we can see our grand totals again. We can also see how many bank transfers have come through. So who's paid via bank transfer and what's the grand total. That's not really useful information really, but you can do that if you want. How many cash payments, how many check payments, and everything together. So these filters become very, very useful, especially when you want to find out who owes you money, because one of these ones in the middle, for example, let's change it back to blue, and we'll set this to no, and we'll delete this data here. As we're looking down this spreadsheet, we can see all of these green ones have been paid, but this one in the middle here hasn't been paid, so we can go and chase this company. Normally you'll chase for payment after 14 days or 30 days. It depends on what your payment terms are. Most companies will give you 14 or 30 days, you know, one working month to pay an invoice. So you send it on the 26th, but you wouldn't expect this payment for 14 days later or 30 days later. But this one happens to not been paid yet, and they may have gone on holiday, and you can chase them up for payment when they get back. And when they do pay, you can simply mark it as paid, and you can mark it as green, and you can mark it as yes paid here. So I hope that all makes sense. This is quite a simple spreadsheet, but it's got some really important information in here, and this should really help you to generate your VAT values very quickly. So you don't really have to use a calculator anymore or an online tool. You can just generate this directly in the spreadsheet, and this will become a very, very useful spreadsheet for you as your business grows. When you've got hundreds of invoices in here for the whole year, and you want to see who hasn't paid and who has paid, and your grand totals for the end of the year, this spreadsheet will help you to do that. So this spreadsheet I normally keep up to date every day. I go online, I check my bank account, and I see who's paid me. I send out quite a lot of invoices. I need to see who's paid me and when they've paid and who hasn't paid, and this spreadsheet will help you to keep track of all that information. That's the end of this tutorial. In the second tutorial we're going to create an invoice, an actual invoice, and we're going to use this first example here, and we'll create a real invoice that you can send to your customer as a PDF file, but we're going to use openoffice to create that actual spreadsheet. So I look forward to seeing you on the next tutorial. I hope you found this one useful, and if you have any questions, I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and feel free to ask me any questions in YouTube, commenting, and I'll try and help you if you have any questions. Okay, I look forward to seeing you on the next tutorial.